Hello, this is my first micro commentary on several chapters for the first week's reading. The first book, Leading Schools in Disruptive Times, that was the first couple of chapters that I read. Um, what I what I learned from those first two chapters was something that I pretty much been aware of. Being a teacher, you're somewhat aware of there's disruptions, So the first chapter mainly gave a lot of the history of education, and I was surprised to see how far education goes back and how far it went unchanged, and how it is changing drastically. Intelligence is at a doubling rate from what the book was stating, and it's just going so fast. And as far as what a disruptive, what I get from the disruptiveness in schools are technology was the biggest one that I noticed. That's probably what's spearheading, the future of schools is how technology is being integrated and how it's changing. Um, Another couple of things that I remember that stick out to me is how fast parents have access to information. Um, my, I've been teaching for 3 years, so I haven't been teaching too long, and so I haven't been able to see a lot of these changes. Now, what was good about that is that the second chapter talked about interviewing a superintendent who had been, I believe, a teacher for 30 years, and he was able to firsthand speak about how these disruptive times and changes are having effects on schools. Now, again, the first chapter dealt a lot with talking about these eras, and I believe they talk about them in waves, and being able to adapt to them. That was the second chapter, is all talking about being able to adapt, your willingness to unlearn and relearn and learn. That's something that stuck out to me. Also, is an aha moment, I guess, that a lot of teachers probably can get stuck in their ways and not willing to unlearn something or relearn something because they feel maybe their way is adequate, has been doing its job. But again, with the changing times, it makes sense to try to keep up with technology and keep up with the changing times in schools. That way you could be more effective, because ultimately, of course, we're looking out for our students, and we want to develop them as best as we can, give them the best education and opportunity for that. And so the first two chapters, again, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about there, but the second book, the Sabertooth Curriculum, was more, to me, a more exciting read. I enjoyed it much. There was the first chapter talked about the longest bar, and talked about a professor and one of his old students that was there on business, and they discussed it. That was mainly the first chapter, and the professor's like, how do they know this is the longest bar? Did they prove it? And then the second, third, and fourth chapter quickly talk about education in a prehistoric age, and it's really interesting. I started liking how you can compare how they did things back then. Of course, this is a story, but how maybe this is the author's way of showing how kind of a barbaric system that we have. Maybe, not sure, but I really enjoyed it. I like the way that they kind of apply, even I believe after the third and fourth chapter start getting into the college and how many fish eats you need to have enough experience in a certain, whether it be fish grabbing or saber-tooth scaring. So it was interesting. It's a good read, and I'm excited to see what it brings up later.